Hey everyone, namaste. Jefferson Glassie here, and we are going to have a conversation about Fonging for the World and the two audiobooks that we produced recently. And I want to say I'm so thankful and grateful that we have these amazing genius artists with us right now. I'm going to introduce them real briefly. I'm going to give you a little background about Fonging. What the heck is Fonging? A bit of discussion about the healing sounds of the universe and how we put all this together. First of all, live from Frogville Studios in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the one, the only Michael. Thank you for being with us, Michael.
Uh-oh, is
There he
Michael
is.
muted?
I think he's just not speaking at the
Silence.
moment. He may
Mhm.
speak.
Jeffersonian,
Yes, there he is, Michael.
greetings to all our friends around the world.
Mhm.
This is a discussion of the audiobook, Fonging for the World. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well.
Thank you. Michael was the narrator of the full soundtrack audiobook. And next here we have the amazing Roy Futureman Wooten, five-time Grammy winner. And he narrated the second audiobook. Second audiobook, we're going to tell him about that. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for being around here, Roy.
Man, it is good to be here. I'm in Canada right now, and but the world is connected. So I'm just glad to be in tune with you guys right now, and to take this great journey talking about this. What is fonging, and how did we get to it? It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And
All right.
then batting cleanup, because he is the man who has really put all this together. Who that none of this would have been possible really without the amazing Dave Welsh signing in from upstate New York, I believe.
Yeah, none of this would have been possible if you didn't write the book, Jeff.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
I'd be out
true.
mowing my lawn right now.
Yeah, we would have had a lot more time on our hands the last couple of years,
Oh,
wouldn't
that's
we?
for sure. That's
Yeah,
for sure. But it's great to be here. It was an interesting experience, and we can talk about the technicalities of that a little bit later on if you'd like to. And
Hmm.
some wonderful, wonderful technology that came about just as I started on the book. And
Ah,
yeah, and new technology that I learned along the way. It's really, really exciting. So we
that's
can
cool.
talk about that when you want to.
Excellent.
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Um, it was quite a project, and the audiobooks I think are just amazing. Let me talk a little bit about how it got started and what is this Fonging thing. So just a bit of a brief overview on that. A little crazy. So I wrote this book. I don't know if it's coming up backwards or not.
No, it's correct.
Okay. Fonging for the Soul in 20, 2006, I think, 2005. And I wrote it under a pseudonym, Erasmus Caffrey, because the whole thing is a little bit crazy. And being a partner in a law firm, I was a little bit concerned that, you know, what people might think.
Yeah.
But this came about, I don't know really where I learned about Fonging. I think it was a party after college, but I'm not 100% sure. So we were at a blues music camp, 2001 or two, something like that. And I ended up talking about Fonging, and this friend of mine said, "Oh, let's go out and we'll get some oven racks and we'll Fong a lot of people." So we did. It was kind of we were wandering around this campus and, "Hey, would you like to Fong?" And so people, do the Fonging and make all kinds of crazy comments. And somebody said, "We ought to write this down." So I decided to do that. And the best description I can give you of Fonging is right here in this picture.
Hmm.
Take a rack out of your oven, a couple of shoestrings, tie the shoestrings around your fingers loosely, put the fingers in your ears. People tap on the rack with, salad forks, screwdrivers, wrenches, turkey basters, and it makes an amazing sound in your head.
Yeah.
Give you a quick visual. Now, when I was in Nashville with Roy, I had brought some of my racks down.
Yes.
So look, this is a nice, big, clean, shiny rack.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Live, Fong, and Prosper shoestrings. We kind of let it all hang out, bend over slightly from the waist. I can actually hear the rack, the vibrations of the rack now. When people tap on the rack with screwdrivers, all kinds of things, turkey basters, very popular.
Boom. Okay.
What we came up with was, I said, well, these were the healing sounds of the universe coming right up through the rack, through the strings, through your fingers, into your ears, the healing sounds of the universe. And the story in the book was that an angel came to Erasmus Caffrey and said, you will be given the gift of Fonging, the ancient art to spread the healing sounds of the universe around the earth and bring peace to the earth through Fonging. Well, that's what we did. We had a lot of fun with it. We came up with the Fong On stickers. We even had the official Fonging kit, praise that may be sweeping the nation. You'll notice that picture there is actually Gay Degbalola, who was one of the characters in the book. It's great for travel and emergency use, much more sane than war. So we had a lot of fun with this thing, but I tell you, it didn't really go very well in terms of a commercial success.
So this is interesting, Jefferson. You're saying you had all of these things made before you wrote the book.
Yeah, before I wrote this current book, yes.
Yeah.
Back in, say, 2005, 6, we were just trying it out, see what would work, see what would happen. It was fun. We used to go around and Fong with people, and they'd make all kinds of comments like, oh, there's a sweet spot where the sound is really nice. That was the F spot. And came up with a lot of things in the book, Fonging etiquette, Fonging safety tips.
So this is interesting, Jeff. I got one more question because I've taken
Yeah.
this journey, but still the fact that you said you made this kit before you wrote the book, and the person that's on the picture of the book is one of the characters in the story.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the Fonging book and the whole thing just kind of sat dormant for a long time. And then what happened was, and it's not really connected, but I read Victor Wooten's book, The Music Lesson, and it blew me away and it changed my life. And it really was the inspiration for Planetary Gig Society and almost everything that I'm doing now through the Planetary Gig Society and music-wise with the intention about bringing peace. But his audiobook was so amazing and remarkable. Michael was the inspiration for the character. Michael read that part in the book. And I just became so enamored with the idea of doing an audiobook. But I had to write a book. Vic really laid out sort of the pathway or the way that he did it. He expressed this to us, I think, after his second book, an audiobook, The Spirit of Music. And I remember him saying, boy, it's just so great to do a soundtrack for a book. And my head exploded.
Boom. Aha.
Like, oh my God, this is the way to do it. I mean, I've listened to audiobooks and it's the same person and they can be really great, but making a soundtrack for a book. So Vic also said that he, wrote the book and based the characters on people that he had known, such as Michael. And asked them to read the parts. And I thought that was such a great idea too, because it really brought everything together. It brought the people who are going to read the parts into the formation of the book. It gave him a way to really come up with some unique characters. So that's what I did. I sat down. I asked the Spirit of Music for help. I'm going to write this thing, so just let it flow. I did a lot of research because there are some deep aspects of this Fonging for the World book. It goes into down some rabbit holes. It's kind of a spiritual thing. There's a lot going on there.
Mhm.
But the ultimate full soundtrack audiobook has 18 characters and 6 songs, and I wrote the book to be heard, which is a different perspective on it. Not just to be read, but I tried to imagine sounds that I would put into the book that would be heard by people. And for example, Gaia de Balola is a really amazing blues artist. And I said, could I base a character on you? And she said, yeah. And she helped it with the writing. And the same thing happened with Sandro from Brazil and Davy from India. And so as I went along, I just had these characters from the book that were based on real people. And the premise of the book was the angel was disappointed because the angel had come to Erasmus Caffrey and asked and told him about Fonging and that he was supposed to bring peace to the world through the healing sounds of the universe through Fonging. Didn't make that happen. So the angel comes back in Fonging for the World to Erasmus Caffrey's granddaughter.
Mm.
And they go on a journey, and I think the spirit of music helped me write this. I just wanted to have all kinds of different crazy scenarios that, how do you bring the healing sounds of the universe through Fonging to the world? Well, anyway, we went on a journey. So that's enough a little bit about the background, I think, unless anybody has questions. But
Hey Jefferson, I have one question. So
yeah,
out of those 18 characters, the lady that's on your box when you did the Fonging for the World, which character is she?
she is Ms. Joy.
Miss Joy, right. So why is Miss Joy character on your Fonging box?
Because when we went to draw up these things in the book, her partner at the time was an artist,
Okay.
and she just sort of drew these characters based on, like, I think she drew these characters based on people. So I think maybe this is me, maybe. Here's some
Mm-hmm.
neighbors. That's the way
Mm-hmm.
she drew it up. You can see there's all kinds of crazy stuff. This is couples Fonging, you know. It's
Okay, I see. So you made a connection back then, and then when you wrote your story, you said you would be perfect for this.
yes.
So
Yeah.
okay, got it, got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And a lot of the characters just kind of came up, and I found people to sort of read them. But
Got it.
I would like to, uh, as soon as I started writing this book, and by about the second or third chapter, it only took maybe 4 or 5 months, 6 months to write it. It came out pretty quickly.
Nice.
It's not a very long book because I did not want a long audio book. I thought I heard that Michael as the narrator's voice because his voice in Victor's books was so amazing. Victor has nothing to do with Fonging and nothing to do with this except for inspiring me. So Michael, how was it? I mean, what were you thinking about? You had read parts for Victor's book. Now are you the narrator of this book, which sort of I don't know, maybe it's a different aspect. But I know also that you are very interested in some of the finer aspects of Fonging, the healing sounds. We've had conversations. I mean, what would you say about recording the audiobook in case somebody here may be thinking of doing an audiobook or being a narrator or whatever? And what's your perspective on this whole Fonging thing?
Mhm.
Well, the very first thing we did was we went back to Dave and we said, Dave, can you get something that is a waveform produced by a Fong apparatus that is our example for the presence of the Fong in the audio book? And Dave came up with this brilliant piece of studio wizardry that allowed him to make some, let's say, listenable, realistic samples of the character of these tones. And that's where it got interesting.
Mhm.
And it's because in the original presentation of what Fong is and how it is done, the model is something metal with a short string that is placed against the closed ear and conducts into the middle ear and the rest of the bones of the cranium and the skull. And you have this all-encompassing cosmic oneness conveyed in a single set of tones that are held in a vibrating element.
Immersion.
Now, before I go to Dave, I'm going to tell you that this Friday is the 30th concert in a series in which we are presenting concerts, each one of the concerts based on an element of the periodic table. The next one, which is this Friday, is Xenon, Xenon, which is one of the elements. As it turns out, each time we look up the character of the properties of any of the elements, they are presented in almost emotional terms, human terms, that the presence or the meaning of an element has certain things that are human, that are part of its vibrational place in the physical world. We've done hydrogen, we've done gold, we've done oxygen, we've done a bunch of elements that nobody even knows what they are until you look them up and present them as a pure vibration in the character of a single atom. And as Dave knows, vibration is on the quantum level, the atomic level, the molecular level, and then the vibration of compounds, the vibration of chemical reactions, the vibration and frequency of all physical objects, including the air itself, which has the sound of air by itself, is something you would not believe how big it is. As the frequency of all physical objects is presented in the manner of listening or experiencing this one tone from a metal element, the brain is awakened to a vibrational place that is, because of the Fonging apparatus, a way of connecting the human brain to a cosmic spectrum of vibration that is held in all of nature, which, by the way, as Dave would point out, is an analog vibration made of real waves. That's moving things that a human being is designed to receive and sense, even to the degree that vibration from other locations on the earth can be sensed simultaneously without any connection whatsoever. The vibration of DNA that is shared by different individuals who are miles apart can be excited by these vibrations, which are recognized in our audible realm, which is audible.com. You can hear it. But in the realms of human expression, especially and in particular, this is what Roy will tell you, that the live performer and the intent of a live performer. Underneath what they're doing forms an actual vibration, which is not audible, that travels throughout time and space eternally without any recognition of distance.
That's
And
very
that
interesting.
is
Yeah.
because of a resonant frequency, which the Fong identifies not as a pitch, but as a place. And when you hear metal vibrating, it represents the pure tone of the analog physical universe, which we are able to sense in music and in sound waves that are built in certain ways that we recognize are healing tones.
You know
A
what?
piece of metal in a certain way, it may not provide you with something that you would call a healing tone. It might surprise you or startle you or disturb you. But when the tone is, as Dave knows, when the tone is carefully shaped in a certain way by the way it's struck or by what is being struck or played, that is the design of healing vibration, which is now used throughout all of living things. The great example over and over again that is given is when cats purr. And you can read the frequency of the purring of a cat, and that it is a body frequency that is directed to their internal organs, and vibration is a resonance within the body that heals living cells, and that living cells themselves are vibrating at a life field frequency that is literally emitting energy in the form of photons.
So that's interesting.
And it doesn't matter if it's a plant or an animal, all neurons are created equal. Roy knows this, that all neurons in nature are the same. In fact, all eyes are the same. The closest structure of the eye found in nature to the human eye, the closest thing to it is found in a box jellyfish.
Ooh.
And it's not even known what the jellyfish is looking at, but it has human eyes, because neurons and eyes and these structures are built upon cosmic, vibrational, living fields, which are in turn built upon an earlier resonance that created and allowed life itself to find form and finally to arrive at our vibration in consciousness. And the vibration of human consciousness is now being tested in the digital realm, because it doesn't go across. The digital realm does not hold anything human that's analog and comes from the intent of a live musician.
Oh, his sound is not coming through.
It's not picking up, but
Yeah, you have to adjust your
from their meaning that is understood to be from a musical instrument or from a tone or from a fonging apparatus.
Well, what's interesting, Michael, is you said that as it relates to fonging, that some of the tones you can measure them with vibrations and stuff, but you said some of it's not. You can't measure it by frequencies, but you measure it by the intent can't be measured. But it reminded me of Dr. Emoto, who would go intent, and they would just put the thought of love on ice, and then they would freeze it, and you could see the pattern. So what this reminded me in the book Fonging was when they would Fong, like when they went to Congress and they're going to Fong to help these people clash. And they said, look, you need to Fong. Or they go to the rich guy and they said, dude, man, you need a good Fong just so you can see the big picture.
Yep.
They would always do some kind of chant. There was an intent behind the Fonging. You know, it wasn't just a cold Fong, but they had a, you know what I mean? Like they were reciting something. You know what I'm, Jefferson? You probably can remember one of the reciting. When they would Fong, there would be an intent
Yeah,
behind.
the intention was important, and I won't say that the Fonging for the World book goes into all the depth that Michael just did with all that, but
Right.
there is a sort of a metaphor, or it points towards some deep stuff when it comes to vibration and sound. And I want to ask you now, Roy, maybe you could just tell the story of how you got involved. I was looking for some kind of a statement after the book, at the end of the book, like an afterword,
Right.
which would be, what did I just read? And what was all that about? And what do I do with it?
Right. Well,
And
the first
I
thing, yeah.
couldn't think of anybody better to ask, write something about that than Roy. So,
Right. So, yeah, the first thing that I liked about it is most people write a forward to the book. You write something in the beginning. And you said you wanted something after they read the story and say, what was that about? How you sum that up? So I like that because it was like a reversal on the plot. Right. And so to do that honestly, I needed to read the book. Right. And for me to read the book, I threw myself into the book. So I have to read it out loud, because if I don't read it out loud, I'll stop. I'll be making notes, and it'll take me a long time. But when I just read it straight to audio, it forced me to just go through the book. So as I was reading audio, I just allowed myself to sink into the story. When I would read Joy, Black woman, I would get in that little attitude. I got my little Maya Angelou attitude in there. You know what I mean? When I would read so and
yep.
so, and I gave everyone a different personality so I could experience the story. And as I did it, it was just becoming a nice piece. And I remember I played it for you, Jefferson, and you know, it was your first time actually hearing the story come back.
Yes.
And you were like, man, I like this, man. This is not what we were planning to do, but keep doing this, and let's do this for real, and we'll just have another version. So that's how I went. So my thing was, most of the time you do a forward, he wanted me to do an afterward or onward. So by reading the story, I could sink in and say, this is, you know, now when you hear my audio or you read what I wrote, it's because I actually went through the story and I was able to write something afterward, after this experience, and really do it honestly. And that's how I got pulled into the project. I was just doing it for me, and it became a project that Jefferson liked. And so now we have the official soundtrack version with the audio and the soundtrack, and then you have the narrator version like you would normally get an audiobook, except I sort of take on the personality of the people. And when it comes time to sing, I sing. Joy sang, lift every voice and sing. And so I get a chance to sing it. There was one of those chanting songs, and I hear people here when I'm in Canada sing those songs, Pachamama,
Yeah.
Pachamama. They just, you know, and so I tried to like sink into the feeling when I hear them sing it. So anyway, it was fun like that. So it was a very personal journey, and then you hear this kind of fleshed out journey, which I think, if I might say it, what I'm thinking about, the takeaway, what we seem like we're discovering, like when you saw Vic do his book, is that when you do these projects, you're almost doing these projects like it's a film soundtrack. And film directors will tell you that the audio and the sound of the audio is over 50% of the movie. So to do that now, that's where we pass it to Dave Welsch, you know, because I think he worked on Vic's audio, and then you called Dave to work on this, not just the audio, but the sound effects too.
Yeah, when I
So
heard Roy read, he sent me the recordings, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. For one, Roy is reading my book. For two, he's really good. You know, it wasn't sort of this, you know, just he was giving it a lot of embellishment, and then he was singing the songs and everything. So I said, well, it may be crazy to have two audiobooks, but let's do it. But it all came down to Dave. And I'll say the first thing I mentioned, I think on a Spirit of Music virtual or something at camp, I don't know, that I was thinking of doing some sort of a program, audiobook like this. And Dave said, well, I'll be glad to help. So I took him at his word. And I don't know if he's happy or not about that, but it was quite a project. And so Dave, tell, you're muted right at the moment, but tell us, how did this happen? You were having sounds coming from all over the world. I mean, you know, in different qualities. I mean, please explain to everybody how you did this.
How did you
Well,
do it?
well, the first thing I have to say before I forget it, you were talking about Roy reading the book and getting into the character and really presenting the book. I think an important part of that is Roy understands, is very insightful of what exactly was going on, or what the possibilities are of this. He's very interested in that. I don't want to talk about you like you're not here, Roy, but you know so he knows the subject, or at least he's inquisitive about the subject, so that he can talk about it in a way that is very emotive. The book itself, it's exactly right. It's like making a movie, and that's how I approached it. It's a movie with no images. You create the images, and sound does that. You know, sound can do that. The whole energy thing, I kind of liken it to a Reiki thing. You know, when you look at the vibration, how you can affect somebody with the vibrations when you're there, but you can also transfer Reiki long distance. My wife and I are both Reiki practitioners, and you can actually send Reiki, you know, along long distances, as long as the person is willing to accept it. If you have the intention, it will get there. Now, as far as the book itself, I guess my foray into doing this, I did not work on the technical side of Vic's first book, of the music lesson. Because of my role in the company, though, in Victor's Corporations, I was in the distribution and promotion of the book. You know, I created the website, I called all the reviewers around the country to get them to review it. We created Vic's books, so I took care of all that. And so, but I wasn't involved in the technical recording of the book. I think it was 2021, must have been, I can't remember. It was during COVID. Vic called me one night and said, I really need help. I said, what do you need? I'm used to him saying that. So what do you need? What do you need? He said, I'm on a deadline to get this audiobook done for The Spirit of Music, and I need your help. I said, okay, fine. And remember, this is during COVID. He's near Nashville. I'm up here in upstate New York, near Syracuse, above Syracuse on Lake Ontario. And we had a deadline of Christmas. And this was right around Thanksgiving. I think it was just after Thanksgiving. So we had 4 or 5 weeks to get this done. And right from the outset, we made a pact that anything we did, anything that we put into the book, anything that we contributed, any sound we did, any music that we wrote would be good. And no matter what it was, when we dropped it into the book, it would be good. It happened every single time. We would have things where, you know, we're talking and he'd say to me, man, I need a piece of music. We need a piece of music. We need a piece of score right in here. I said, all right, give me a day or so, and I'd write something and produce it and do the whole thing. I'd send it to him, and he would literally drop it into the Pro Tools session, and it was perfect. Where it faded in, where it faded out, where it began, where it ended, whatever. Everything was perfect. Every sound that we created was perfect. So it worked out. We got the book done on December 23rd. We had it mastered, I think, by January 7th, and, you know, it was out. So when Jeff came to me to talk about doing this, I thought, yeah, great, it'd be fine. So I started, and I got about into the 3rd chapter of producing it. I was just going to be in stereo. It was just going to be the way we had done The Spirit of Music. It's a really good stereo image. Things still move around in the proper places, but it was stereo. Well, right about that time, the Dolby Atmos renderer became available to the general public. Me being the geek that I am, got it. And I thought, oh man, this is too much fun. That was really stupid.
Uh,
Takes a lot of time.
so so
Really
uh
dumb.
so Dave,
But
Dave, for people who don't know what Dolby Atmos means,
mhm,
basically stereo is left to right.
right,
Atmos is left, right, front, back, side, above,
right.
and below.
10 tracks. Yeah, basically so we worked in 7.1.4, which means it's 7 basic tracks. So you've got left, right, center. There's an LFE, which is the low frequency element, which in the audiobook I didn't use really at all. Uh, if this ever becomes a movie, we've got the LFE.
Got it.
Left surround, right surround, left rear surround, left rear surround, left rear top surround, right rear top surround. So there's 10 tracks. But then this is where the Atmos comes in. That's just typical surround. But now in Atmos, I can actually take a sound and instead of assigning it to one or more of those speakers to create this image, I can actually move the object itself around in a 360-degree space. So rather than the object coming out of that speaker, I can actually put it right here, or right here, or right here, or whatever. So the sound, when the angel appears in the beginning of the book, in the first chapter, that kind of space dust sound actually swirls around and comes down like as if it's around you. And there's all kinds of things like that. And I can show you a representation of it. If I play part of the track, you can actually see it on the screen. But that was the really cool part. So that when for instance, when they're in Central Park, when Joy and Arya are in Central Park and there's conversations going on all around, they are actually where you might hear them in Central Park, not only in the speakers and with reverb or whatnot and volume mixed so that they're further away. They actually are further away, or they're actually closer. I can whisper in your ear and freak you out. You think I'm right here. And it's object-based audio. And if you're interested in that geeky kind of stuff, look it up. You can Google it, and it's really, really, really cool. One of the biggest challenges that I met, and Michael had alluded to this, is how the heck do I create this sound? The Fonging is a very, very unique sound, and it only happens in your head.
The people outside can't hear.
They can't hear it. So how do I create this sound? How do I reproduce this sound that's in your head? And I was saying, well, I could just do it with synthesizers and which there was some of that, some sound design. But I really wanted to hear the sound as close as we could get it. So I went to an art store and bought a styrofoam wig form, the head, the styrofoam head. And my plan was to make a head similar to the Sennheiser head, which is used to record binaural sound, which works just like a human head. So the ears transfer the sound into condenser microphones that are inside exactly like they normally would, or like they would in real life. And that's been being used for years and years, since the 80s. Back, there was a radio drama called The Mist. It was an adaptation of Stephen King's The Mist, and it was in binaural sound. And it was scary. It was really, really freaky. And the Sennheiser makes one of these heads, but I don't think that Jeff had it in the budget for me to buy the Sennheiser head. So I thought I'd make one. The problem was that the styrofoam does not have the same density as the human head. And so it didn't work. It didn't sound right at all. It captured the sound, but it didn't work quite right. Well, then to make a long story longer, it occurred to me that I had a little piezo microphone, which is a piece of ceramic that collects the vibrations and then transfers it into electronic sound. And I had an old one around here, a little one. So I attached that with a clothespin, a wooden clothespin, to the oven rack. And I used the official, this may be the secret, I used the official Fonging shoelaces that are in my Fonging kit.
Live, Fong, and prosper. Shoes.
Live Fong, the official shoelaces. I think that may be the secret. And I hung it from a microphone stand, and I started hitting it with stuff, and salad forks and turkey basters and anything I could find out of the kitchen. Yeah, exactly. To hit it with. And it was great. So I had, I don't know, probably an hour's worth of these sounds that I could then go through and fix and manipulate and add reverb and do whatever I needed to do to make them sound good. And I actually have one program that can put it inside your head and create the resonance that you hear inside your head, a plugin from Dear VR. So it worked great. And somewhere along the line, the piezo broke and I couldn't record it anymore, but I had enough to work with.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't even know how you did it.
Yeah.
Until you just
Well,
said,
and when I started doing it, I didn't know how I was going to do it. But that's always the way it is. It's that way when I do a soundtrack for a film. You sit down, you say, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I have no idea. You can have all the meetings you want and plan things, but you sit down, somehow you have to sit down and touch the keyboard or maneuver a sound. You've got to start somewhere.
And what I like about that is even when you get somebody like Hans Zimmer that's done all of these films, he says when he sits down, he's just like a blank slate. Like, do I even know what to do? And so it's that childlike openness that allows the experimentation to try to find the magic of what's being asked for now. Right. And again, the conversation that Michael was having, the conversation that you just said, Dave, where you said we have the intention, we set the intention that whatever we do is going to be right. To me, that sets an intention that's measurable, like when Dr. Emimoto measures something. But I think it touches something on the quantum physics level where you were saying you can do Reiki and you can affect someone however far away they is. And when Einstein saw this, like in quantum physics, they can have a cell here and they can send the next one out in space or something. And they do something to this cell and it affects that one way off at a distance. And Einstein called that spooky action at a distance.
Yeah. Think about the particle collider at CERN.
Yes.
They take a particle, cut it in half, they send one down that way, they send one that way, and whatever happens to that one, 6 miles away, happens to that one.
Wow. See?
That is like crazy, and that's quantum physics.
It's quantum physics.
What the bleep do we know?
Right.
It's brilliant. It's so cool. It's so cool.
On another level, for another conversation, some people say it's almost like we're in a matrix that's like a circuit board. So when you hit this circuit, it's connected to that over there, and some kind of way the whole matrix that we're in is connected like that.
It's fonging at a distance.
Fonging at a distance. Spooky fonging, spooky action at a distance. Yes.
So Dave, you had, literally 18, 19 different people. You had sounds, you've got your sound audio files that you plugged in, and plus the songs and everything. It was a lot of, Dave did an amazing job. But really, you will never hear
enough. My head's getting big.
Right. And this audiobook is really pretty out there and quite a sound journey. But do you have a clip?
Example.
You could play.
Well, what I have queued up right now is the Amazon, the Music of the Trees.
Right.
Was in chapter 5, I think. And I'm wondering what part. I want to play a part that you can actually, there's a lot of object audio, because I can show you.
There was that one clip you did with the music that you added. Ari is coming out of the journey. Michael's
Mother Earth, I think.
Yeah, that's something like that would be great.
And you know what
go ahead, Roy.
I was going to say what I like is people will see why Michael is the narrator, because his voice just takes you through this journey.
Oh, it's perfect.
And it's like the way that I did it is totally different. So it's like it's this soundtrack with this voice that's taking you further than you've gone before, or something like that. Right. And so I just wanted to applaud you, Michael, for doing it, because I think a lot of that sounded like it was your first take. You were just reading it and you were just taking us there. So I applaud you on that. But for the listeners, that narrator you're hearing is Michael.
Yep. So let me, well, first of all, let me show you what the session looks like. And you should
Yeah.
now be seeing my Pro Tools session.
It says start.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And this is actually not one of the larger sessions. The New York session was probably double, maybe triple this size. And I don't know how many, this is probably, it's over 100 tracks.
I love it.
I think New York, I think I counted, well, okay, not 3 times. I think New York had about 220 tracks, and because there were different scenes.
And what's New York when you say New York?
The chapter.
Third chapter, Miss Joy in New York.
When they go to New York. Got it.
Yeah, and it's where Arya arrives on the maglev, which I had to create there. You know, I've never been on a maglev. So I had to figure out what that sounded like, but I also had to figure out what it sounded like as you're sitting in row 14, seat A, on a maglev. So that's what you hear. You know, the rumble is actually below you, and a little bit behind you. There are conversations taking place way in the back of the car. There's a conversation taking place right behind you. And this is geeky stuff that some people may not even notice, but I did, you know, and it's fun.
So Dave, for the listener that doesn't know what a maglev is.
Yeah, I don't even, I mean, it's a
magnetic
train. It's a magnetic train that rides on a magnetic.
They have in other countries, but not here. And they go 200 miles an hour or something.
Right. Okay.
So it virtually makes no
in the
noise.
future. The story is in the future, and I was pretending like we had a maglev train between New York and Washington.
Well, and then one passes on the left side of the train that you're on. One passes, and it's like, well, what's that sound like? I don't know. It's not going to sound like a regular subway train or a regular, you know, Metro North train. So that's the fun is really creating those things. Yes. So let me play. I'm not sure what this is, but let's find out.
A purple sun rose, and a flock of white birds flew by, their wings beating in time. The sky of her mind brightened, and all of a sudden, the deepest feeling of gratitude she ever experienced washed over her. She became empathy, then joy, elation, intoxication, wholeness. She lost all sense of self and became everything and nothing at the same time. She now cried for joy, tears streaming down her face, every pore of her non-existent body smiling.
So
she
you
had
see
no
here,
boundaries and could not
spot
die.
11 is
there was
Michael,
no separation,
right in front of your face.
No fear. She became one with the universe.
And 12 is
and
Arya.
It was pure bliss.
Well, she was over in here
love.
somewhere.
Arya.
A heavenly feminine voice whispered to her. Was this the angel again? No.
Arya, I am your mother.
So that's actually in the bed.
Her mother?
And it's left and right surround.
Not her human mother. All of a sudden she realized she knew. Mother Earth was talking with her.
Yes, Mother?
She was completely blissed out. She'd never felt this possible. Mother Earth was a conscious, living entity. Arya was communicating with her somehow. But were they even communicating in words?
I am the spirit of the earth, as you are the spirit of your body. I feel you. I know what you are doing. Thank you.
Whoops, sorry.
Mother.
Anyway, you get the idea. And if we go to the tree sap thing, this is really cool. And here I think you can see, I think Pro Tools is about to crash on me, which would not be a good time for it to happen.
Just FYI, Mother Earth is my wife, Julie.
Oh, well, that's the voice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
There were some random folks
Spirit
showed
of
up.
music.
Okay, it works. Nice.
Well, everybody can hear how Michael, the narrator, is just taking
Oh, it's
us
brilliant.
through this journey,
Just
man.
brilliant.
Oh my gosh, and the sounds, I mean, as when Roy and I were listening to it not that long ago, you know, when there's a whole log sound and then they poof, poof, come, you
Yeah.
know.
I kept
Right.
thinking about Princess Leia in Star
Yeah.
Wars.
Right. So for the listener who doesn't know what a holog is, it's a telephone that when you dial in your phone, I think it's on your watch or something like that. And when you dial a person, boom, their image comes up, a hologram, like a hologram. So
Yeah.
you hologram talking to the person's image. So this is something that Jefferson made up for the story. So instead of calling somebody, what do they call it? They're gonna holog them or something
Yeah,
like that.
whole log.
Yeah. The
You need
whole-
Yeah.
you need 8K.
Yeah, you need 8K, right? Not 5K, 8K network,
8X. Maybe I said 8X.
8X or something. So it's a little bit of future touch here. A lot of
So let's
fun.
see if I think I can show you
paint
a little bit of this, and then we'll.
I think we're
we'll
tree
leave it
sap
at
and we're
that.
headed to the roots.
Why are you
Aria, by the
two
way, was
blue and
great.
purple?
Everybody was
Oh,
great.
She's
wait.
brilliant.
I'm orange.
She's absolutely
Yikes.
brilliant.
Oh yeah, I'm
This is the
Erasmus
most
Caffrey.
incredible experience of the senses. Synesthesia is nothing compared to being tree sap.
Nehru was golden.
Namaste, my friends. So glad to be with you. How is your
Sandro
journey?
from Brazil.
Sandro was liquid green.
Well, at least we're all together. Let's see where this tree is taking us. Wow!
It's gonna be dark down
Actually,
here.
did put a little LFE.
But it wasn't
So you
dark.
see the things flipping around
The
there.
darkness turned to colored lights.
That's as we're starting to get into this
How can it be so
trip
bright here in
underground,
the ground?
wherever we are.
Nehru replied telepathically.
Animals and plants perceive differently than humans.
Davy.
Dogs and many other animals hear much better than we do. Many animals
Say that again, Jeff.
That's Davy, who is a singer that I met in Rishikesh, India. She has one of the major parts.
One more spot here.
Be so bright here in the ground.
Nehru replied telepathically.
Oh, we were there.
animals
Here,
and
we'll go to this.
The multicolored retinue surged along faster now, through narrow tentacles around rocks and roots, moving faster underground. Where were they going?
The mycelia network, it's all over the world. It's like a fungal internet. It feels like we are moving very
There's
fast.
also, Roy, you'll like this, there's also
They
a
began
shepherd's
to
tone in
perceive
there.
what was above ground.
One more time, say it again, Dave.
Subterranean.
There's a
journey
shepherd's tone
continued.
in there as well.
They realized they were headed north, under the Amazon, up through Central America.
So I put a shepherd's tone in there so that you get the acceleration. You get the notion.
Nice. Yeah, and for the listener who's listening, the shepherd's tone is a kind of tone that just keeps rising, and it gives the illusion like it just keeps rising some kind of way.
Never ends.
It just never ends. And Hans Zimmer used it in the movie
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk,
Dunkirk.
right? And so that's the shepherd's tone. Everybody can get nerdy and Google that. Yeah.
That's it. It's just getting totally nerdy, and
Yes.
it was just fun. That's all it is.
Getting dirty nerdy.
Well, it's amazing, and I'm so privileged to be, have this book turn out with such amazing narrators and such sound design. I mean, it's just beyond belief. But there are a lot of topics in here that go off the page a little bit. Telepathy. We look into India and the caste system, the Amazon, the value of the Amazon and the rainforest, democracy, Native American, matriarchal studies. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Plant medicine.
Plant medicines in this book that we touch on just through the story of this crazy thing called Fonging, which is, I've been writing about peace for a long time. And after I wrote my Heaven is Everywhere book, I did a presentation called 5 Easy Steps to Peace. So this could be 5 easy steps to peace through Fonging. But you know, the music that's in there, the different characters, the soundscape, everything is just, it was a lot of fun. So I really wanted to get together with Michael and Roy and Dave and be able to talk a little bit about how this came together, because it's a little bit nutty if you just, you know, think about it and wonder what the heck
A
is
little bit?
Fonging.
A little bit?
Yeah, but you know, like some of these stories where like Carlos Castaneda or people go on in these spiritual journeys or this trek that leads them out of bounds of the normal world is you know, this touches on that kind of spirit. You know, it's a hero's journey
Yes, yeah.
in its own way, you know. So
Yeah, and some amazing other voices. Verdell Primo is a Native American two-time Grammy winner. He was the voice of the chief when they end up at the. I shouldn't spoil all this, should I? But anyway, you know, it's just a great group of folks. And the other thing I want to mention is, um, this is not about the money. This is about the experience. It's about the product. It's about, you know, sharing knowledge and also trying to inspire folks to this kind of maybe new type of genre or different type of genre that Vic threw out there for us to follow for musicians, because, you know, it's something new that can be done. So we agreed, if we get any money from this book, which so far not so much, but if we do get a chunk of money, we're going to split it up with us and the other main characters, because it's kind of a collective effort. It's not about the money, but, you know, maybe this is a more modern way of doing this, but that's kind of how we planned it. And Roy, maybe could you talk for just a second about this sort of the inspirational aspect about, you know, wanting to, you know, inspire other people to think outside the box. Musicians in particular, they have such skill sets, make music with the types of tools that Dave has there right there. You know, this is
yeah,
an opportunity.
I think if anything, it's kind of like you just you we met, and when we first started talking about going forward with what's in your heart, you know what I mean? Like you say, you could just do your job being in legal affairs and stuff like that, but you had something else whispering to you to get done, right? And when we met at Spirit of Music, we were talking about how Gary Vaynerchuk was saying how, you know, in the future, what we need is more truth and authenticity. Like everyone, you know, there was a social influencer asking him, Gary, how do I get to the next level? And Gary said, look, I'm going to tell you something that you're not ready for. This is going to be counterintuitive. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to post videos that you know won't do well. Right? And the guy was, this is a social influencer dude. I'm trying to get hits. Like, what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? He says, because what everyone's trying to be all perfect and in line and smooth, and here, look at me, selfie. And he says, but what we need is more truth and authenticity.
Experimenting.
And experimenting, right? And so in that, one of the takeaways is like, even with Vic, you know, leaning forward, he's a bass player, man, but he's writing a book. Instead of teaching you the lessons, like, you know, this is what an eighth note is, than that, he's giving you the big picture of music and passing that on. But it's like he's setting a fire that inspired you to do that. But what inspired Vic was Richard Bach's Illusions, you know? And if you look at the book, Illusions was a book that Richard Bach was working on, but he was stuck in his basement somewhere. He couldn't get it done, and until he started working with silver mind mapping and mind stuff, and that silver practicing just opened him up, man. He was able to finish that book, Illusions, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. So it's kind of like the takeaway for me is like to be inspired by the truth and authenticity and the courage that it takes to do that, to experiment when you might not know how it's going to go, you know? And you know, you're on a journey of discovery. And a lot of times on the journey of discovery, you're going out there to make a path where there is no path. Where a lot of times people are trying to follow a path that someone's already made. But sometimes on your truth and authenticity, you're going to where there is no path, and you're creating a new way. So in that new way, again, look at what we're talking about. We're talking about doing books, audiobooks, not just as audiobooks, but as soundtracks.
Yeah.
Man, how many musicians could eat that up? Right? Spirit of Music. Jordan, our friend Jordan.
Oh man.
He's doing audio soundtracks to the Lord of the Rings. I was like, Jordan told me about it, truth and authenticity. I said, man, do it now while you're young. Because when you're young, you're a little bit crazy. You know what I mean? That's a lot of work. But now he's doing Harry Potter. He's creating soundtracks, not just audiobooks. So I think the takeaway for the audience listening is, man, when you hear the language of the world whispering something to you, right? And you want to just open your ear and lean into it, even if in the beginning it's not going to be so good. You know what I mean? Let it be bad at first, because sometimes you have to be bad before you can be good. And I think that's what Gary Vaynerchuk was saying. Look at people that are going to try to do something that's them, and have the courage not to be good at first.
That's the tough part. That's the
Yes.
tough part. It's one of the things we teach. I know we teach it at Vic's camps about, jumping in and playing something or improvising or creating something. Do it without judgment. Don't lay it down without judgment. If you want to go back and analyze it later, fine, but don't judge yourself while you're doing it. You shut yourself down.
Now, Dave, I'm going to echo back to Hans Zimmer. When Hans Zimmer did his masterclass, you're doing a film soundtrack. He says, when you do that film soundtrack, you've got a whole 2 hours or something of music to do. You have to go in there, and just like you did with Vic, he said, whatever we do is going to be good. He says, you put down your first intent of music, whatever you for that scene, and don't judge it. Just go to the next one. Don't stop, say it was good. Just, this is what I got. Next scene. You just do it. And he says, almost like you're writing a diary, you're moving forward. And usually he says, when you go back, you'll find out that you were hovering, you were right on that whole time. So that is very key of not letting your self-judgment stop the flow process.
Yeah, Dave mentioned that when we started, this is whatever we do is going to be good. And I'm
There
like,
you go. Set that intention.
we're not going to second guess ourselves or whatever. And Dave did an amazing job. Hey, Michael, you got anything you want to impart to the?
Here we go. Because
Strap on in.
there is a human dimension that is standing at the gateway or upon the threshold of an infinite consciousness of vibration that once an individual can become accustomed to it, you are allowed to enter into a universal cosmic realm of vibration that goes all the way up to star formation, the collision of black holes, the beginning of galaxies, and the undertones which form all of the resonance and upper frequencies into the microwave realm and beyond, that are all going to interact in such a way that it's now been shown that from energy of vibration alone, matter is made out of energy, pure energy, and that vortices of plasma that are aligned geometrically result in the formation of planets. And this is why I was mentioning Terrence Howard to Royale, is because recently he had someone demonstrate an algorithm that used pure mathematics, in other words, thermodynamic equations and quantum equations that are well known, and then they were put into a geometry that literally, using an algorithm alone, showed how the planet Saturn came into existence from the relation of vibrational pure energy alone.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
That we are always witnessing this kind of creation, and we are in the midst of it, all the way down to quantum, and there is shown now a vibrational realm beneath quantum, Dave,
Crazy.
and it's called entanglement.
Yeah.
And entanglement
Spooky action.
is somewhere, if you're a human being, you have to recognize it and you have to deal with it. Then there's the strong force, which acts in every dimension. And there are things going on inside every living thing that are vibrational and originate from a cosmic tone that has a wavelength of 30,000 light years. That is literally what happens when event horizons, or what are called black holes, collide, and the collision of two black holes forms a galaxy, and we are in the middle of it, and we are living consciousness that took billions of years of vibrational interactions through this is like almost like Hinduism, through what does it take? How many life forms do you have to be before you arrive at consciousness? It's like 2 million, and it takes 2 billion years.
But who's counting?
Now, the healing vibration of human beings, shown as Roy, you're hearing all this stuff about 538 hertz, the heart vibration.
528.
We are identified now with 432, which is an alignment with a cosmic tone, which can be heard in all physical things and is shown on a frequency spectrum as a cosmic tone that's in resonance with all physical vibrations and energy that is naturally occurring without any algorithm or mathematics. And now mathematics itself is confirming all of this in its many forms and literally acting upon human beings as if we were finally liberated and assured in the cosmic vibration of all things, that as we come closer and closer to nature, we are made as one thing. And this is the great liberation. Gives me a chill just to say it. The liberation of a consciousness of vibration and its meaning allows human beings to move beyond the bounds of the physical in a real consciousness that is an emotion. And now we get to the pineal gland. If anyone knows what a third eye is, it's also a third ear. That in our eyes and in what we see, we're only being given a little, tiny little, I'm going to say, tunnel of visual reality that never goes above 16 bits per second. It's why movies work. But as Dave knows, sound and human hearing are a factor of 10 to the fourth. More information, more sensing, more of our connection to the physical, real world that produced consciousness. And it's an analog place. And somehow, so is our living sensory, not just the nervous system, but everything that produces the actions of consciousness in the brain. And it's like a vibrational realm, which is chemical inside the third ear, which is also the third eye, the pineal gland, and what it produces in the body literally allows human beings to travel to the edges of the galaxy and to the limits of their imagination and to other places in time, in existence, forward or back, or anywhere you want to go. And this is the gift that human beings have received and that we now are entering upon in human consciousness through a new design of music itself, which is based upon the healing vibrational frequencies of the human body and human consciousness. And this, my friends, is the origin of the design of music itself from a shamanistic place of healing.
Nice.
We love you all.
Bong on.
Idea.
Fun.
And let me tell you, you hear anybody saying something about a morphogenesis or a morphogenetic field among human beings or between human beings and animals, such as dogs, horses, that the consciousness that human beings are born with is elemental, cosmic, and receives all the information that leads to the liberation and the realization of human consciousness in our time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to throw in there, Michael, that Fonging for the World and listening to the audiobook can perhaps put you on a path to understand some of these truths that Michael's talking about. So I just want to say thanks to everybody because, you know, we've had a good conversation.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm so appreciative for all you and for Vic and all the doors he's opened for me.
Did you?
This is just some great stuff.
Yeah,
This is the future.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you to all of you, Jefferson, Michael, Dave, all the actors, and my brother Victor, because without Victor Wooten's, you know, his music camps, their music and nature, we're out in nature talking to the trees, man, and people are coming up with ideas, and they come out of that, and they're just sprouting their own seeds, and so, you know, applaud you, Jefferson, for, you know, leaning into your truth and your authenticity to create this kind of thing and to continue to create. And I think that's the spirit of what's going on here. We're creating another thing. And as we talk about that and we use our imagination, it's like you're making up the hall you're making up whatever that mag train, but it's like the stuff that we're making up. If you look around, you see it happening. And Michael said something about moving forwards and backwards in time, man. It's like my nickname is Future, man. So I like to hear about the future, man. And I'm watching a YouTube about this dude in the Vatican. He worked in the Vatican, but he was real electrical in nature, right? And he was really musical. But some kind of way, he had a nervous tick when he would get in trouble. He'd call out for his father. And so they were working on some kind of recording machine. And he said, well, Dad, help me. And his dad came through like the movie Contact and said, I'm here. He's like, wait, you mean you're here right now? So they were talking to each other wherever his dad was in another realm. They were communicating. So that went on to say, well, if we can connect audio, everything is frequency, we should be able to connect visually. Long story short, man, they created a project where Marconi, the inventor of this, I don't think Tesla was on it, but like these super genius guys, they created this television set that could dial forwards and backwards in time. You know what I mean? Based on the frequency.
Like Twilight Zone episode.
It sounded like a Twilight Zone, man. Right? And so I'm saying this to say, bong on, because you think you're just playing in your imagination and you're tuning in to possibilities that have to seem fiction at first. But as we go on, the imagination, like Einstein said, is just unbound. Knowledge is important, but imagination encircles the world. And so with that, I applaud everyone for letting me be a part of the project.
Yeah, I say the same thing. Thanks to everybody. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks to Roy and Michael, and all of the performers. Kathleen just blew my mind. She is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have a session with some of the characters too to talk about it.
Yeah, and everybody was just
call
wonderful.
me up on that one. I want to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah, I want to see what some of these people look like.
Yeah.
No idea.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
Jeff.
you.
Really appreciate it. And thanks, Remy and Ken, for stopping in. Really appreciate it. Nice to quote unquote see you guys.
Yeah, Jeff Stewart.
Yeah. I'll, if you might come on, Ken or Remy, I'm gonna stop recording, but where is that thing? Yeah, here it is.